Stop scrolling, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you look at people forever. That's how this story begins, with a moment no one expected, one that would melt even the coldest billionaire's heart. It happened on a quiet evening in a luxury resort by the ocean, a place where laughter echoed over candlelight dinners, and the rich and powerful came to forget their worries. Among them sat Richard Lemaire, a billionaire real estate mogul, known for his ruthlessness in business, but also for his quiet, private pain. His only son, Daniel, sat beside him, a boy of just 10, confined to a wheelchair after an accident 2 years ago. The light in his eyes had faded since then. Daniel hadn't spoken much. He didn't smile. His father had built towers that touched the sky, but he couldn't rebuild the joy in his son's heart. And in a way, that guilt haunted Richard every single day. As they sat at their reserved table that night, their waitress arrived, a young black woman named Maya. She carried herself with the grace of someone who had seen hard times but never let them break her. Her smile was gentle, real, the kind that made people feel seen. "Good evening, gentlemen," she said warmly, as she knelt to Daniel's level. "Would you like to choose your drink tonight, young man?" Daniel's eyes flickered, surprise, then hesitation. Most people spoke over him, to his father, not to him. But Maya waited patiently, her kind eyes unwavering. He pointed shyly to the orange juice on the menu. "Great choice." She grinned. "That's my favorite too. You've got good taste." For the first time in weeks, Richard saw it, a small, almost invisible curve on his son's lips. A smile. And that was the moment something in Richard's heart shifted. The evening went on, and Maya returned several times, always taking a moment to talk to Daniel. Not about pity, but about dreams, cartoons, and music. When a soft jazz tune began playing across the hall, Maya looked at Daniel and whispered, "You know, this is my favorite song to dance to. Do you dance?" Daniel lowered his eyes, tapping his wheelchair armrest. "I can't," he murmured. Maya paused. Then she smiled again, not in sympathy, but in challenge. "Who said you can't? Dancing isn't just about legs. It's about rhythm, about heart." She gently placed a hand over his and began swaying to the slow beat, guiding his hands in small motions that matched the music. At first, Daniel resisted, self-conscious. But soon, the warmth in her tone, the rhythm of her laughter, and the melody in the air began to melt his hesitation. Slowly, he moved. Just his arms, just his fingers. But for the first time since the accident, Daniel danced. The restaurant quieted. Guests turned to watch the boy and the waitress, a billionaire's son and a woman from a world far different than theirs, sharing a moment of pure connection. And behind them, Richard Lemaire stood frozen. His throat tightened. His vision blurred. He had spent millions on doctors, therapists, and treatments, but it took a waitress's heart to do what no money could, bring his son back to life. When the song ended, the room erupted into soft applause. Daniel looked up at Maya, his smile wide now, radiant. "Thank you," he whispered. Tears rolled down Richard's face. He hadn't realized how much he'd needed to hear his son speak with that joy again. He approached Maya after the crowd settled, his voice trembling. "Miss Maya, was it?" She nodded politely. "Yes, sir. I hope I didn't disturb your dinner." "Disturb?" he repeated, shaking his head. "You just gave me back my son." Maya's eyes softened, unsure how to respond. Richard asked her story. She hesitated, but eventually shared it. She was working double shifts, trying to pay for her younger brother's medical bills. She used to be a dance instructor before the pandemic shut her studio down. But she never stopped believing in the power of movement and kindness. Richard listened, truly listened, for the first time in years, not as a CEO, but as a man. And before he left that night, he handed Maya his card. "Please, come by my office tomorrow," he said quietly. "I think I owe you more than just a tip." The next morning, Maya arrived nervous, unsure what to expect. But when she walked into his office, she found not a business offer, but a foundation being born. Richard had made a decision overnight. He called it the Daniel Foundation for Hope, a center where children with disabilities could learn art, music, and dance, taught by instructors who believed that healing came from the heart, not just medicine. And at the center of it all, he wanted Maya to lead it. Her eyes welled up. "Sir, I don't have degrees for this. I'm not qualified." Richard smiled. "You brought my son back to life, Maya. You're more qualified than anyone. Months passed. The center grew, filled with laughter, music, and kids rediscovering joy. Daniel became its biggest cheerleader, his confidence blossoming. And every Friday, he and Maya led a heart dance, a slow, symbolic movement that reminded everyone that strength isn't measured in steps, but in spirit. One evening, as Richard watched his son glide his wheelchair across the floor, guiding another child in rhythm, he whispered to Maya, "You changed everything." She smiled, looking at Daniel. "No, sir. He changed everything. I just reminded him how." And that's how one simple act, one small dance, turned into a movement that touched thousands of lives. So if you're watching this right now, remember this. Sometimes the richest thing you can give is kindness. And sometimes, it only takes one person, like you, to make someone believe again. So hit that like button if you believe in second chances, subscribe if you believe in kindness, and share this story to remind the world, miracles don't always come from money. Sometimes, they come from the heart.